Hi, I'm Amber Mack, and welcome to our live broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us here today. As you've probably seen from many of the messages that we've put out on social media, we're going to talk about the future of smart condos, and we are in one right now, thanks to Tridel. So we are going to be taking your questions, and I know there are a lot of people who are probably watching right now who are maybe thinking about buying a condo. Maybe you have a question about what you need to think about as far as some of the smart features. We're going to be answering all of those questions. And like every live broadcast that we do, we encourage you to share this broadcast with other people who might be interested in this topic. I just want to say hello to a few people. So if you are just tuning in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I see a few here already. Sophie has tuned in, Bree has tuned in, Dylan as well, and Philip has tuned in, and Jean Carlos has tuned in. So a few people watching, let me know where you're watching from, and get your questions in here. This is a chance, and I follow pretty much everything happening in social media, but this is your chance to talk to an expert about the future of smart condos. So any questions that you may have, we are going to answer for you today. We're going to be live for about half an hour, so you'll be able to get your questions in. We also have lots of amazing B-roll that we're going to show you, video that will show you some of these features that are available in this building at 10 York, and you're going to be blown away. So I've had a chance over the past few weeks to check out some of these features, and it is amazing. We are living in the future, and there is a lot to talk about. Now, we are in downtown Toronto, and one of the reasons that we're talking about this in Toronto is because this is the location, but more importantly, if you think about Toronto, this is more and more an innovation hub. This is a place in the world right now where we're seeing technology companies that are setting up, that are choosing to make Toronto home. In fact, as you can see here, Toronto ranks among the fastest growing global technology innovation hubs. And we're seeing this more and more thanks to new technology trends like artificial intelligence, also blockchain, fintech, the list goes on and on. As a Torontonian, I'm very proud to be here and see everything that is taking place in this city. As I can see, there are some people here watching, like Chris, who is watching from Ontario. Dylan is saying the future is now. Stephen is watching from Etobicoke, and Crystal is watching from Whale Cove. And because I'm originally from the East Coast, I know that's in Nova Scotia. So Crystal, thank you so much for tuning in. So as I mentioned, Toronto is really experiencing a moment right now as far as the future of tech and some pretty incredible things that are happening here today. You may have heard stories about the future of smart cities within the GTA, and we're seeing more and more. This is a place where the top tech companies choose to come, and it's only reflected in the fact that we're also seeing some of the top tech in condos like we're going to see today. So if you've been watching headlines in terms of what's happening in Toronto and beyond, you'll see some pretty amazing statistics. This is one that I thought was really surprising if you hear the news about Sidewalk Toronto and what they're setting up here. Very impressive. And as far as new homes that are being built in Toronto, what is amazing is this stat. 83% of new homes in the GTA, and this is a stat out from this spring, are in fact condos. You can just take a look at downtown, and this is reflected pretty much everywhere that you look. Now, if I had to guess as far as one of the most stunning places that I've been, it's here at 10 York. This is a beautiful building. You can't miss it when you come into the downtown core. It's absolutely stunning. We have some amazing images here as far as the building itself. We're going to have a guest come up in just a second to talk more about that. But as you can see, here is 10 York, where we are right now. We're actually in one of the party rooms in this building, just on the corner there. Although that image isn't live, you can see that the building is absolutely stunning and a pretty amazing location. But what's even more impressive from someone like me who's in the tech space is what's inside the building and the technology. And just for my hardcore tech fans, I have to say, we're going to talk about connectivity that is in this building, and I know all of you who love tech will really appreciate that conversation. Tuning in one more time, Dylan saying all those cranes in the sky in Toronto. Also CM saying good morning, and Paul Wright saying looking forward to this topic. And if you guys can do me a favor, it would be fantastic if you could hit that share button on this broadcast right now and share it with your friends and family so they can see a glimpse into the future of a smart condo and the best of the best as far as some of the features we're going to talk about today. and I know you're going to love it, and we'll continue to take your questions live, and thank you for all the comments. Now, I can't do this alone, so as much as I am tech savvy, the truth is that I need a real expert, and that's why we have Tridel here. Our guest is joining us now. It's Jim Ritchie, who's the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and we have been geeking out even before the broadcast started up, and we're going to talk a little bit further about smart condos. So, Jim, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, there are people who are watching right now who maybe haven't thought a lot about smart condos. How would you define a smart condo?
Well, maybe a smart condo is different things to different people. We looked at it as a solution that, that provides a feature and a benefit to a homeowner that leverages technology to bring it all together. So I don't know if you look up a definition somewhere online in terms of what a smart condo should be, I'm sure there's a variety of different responses. But our solution, which we're going to talk today, takes into consideration about 8 or 9 different components.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, and as I promised, I was teasing this before, we're going to see some of these features. I've walked around this building a few times, and it is just amazing in terms of what's being offered. We're going to show that in a second, but one question I had to ask you is, why do we need these smart features in our homes, and also who are they catering to?
Well, they're catering to our condominium homeowner, which is very diverse in terms of age, but I think, consistently, certainly in Toronto in the downtown core, it is a younger demographic. But the solution that we've provided in terms of smart home, I think would appeal to any age. It's just leveraging technology to make things more convenient, to make your life a little easier in a condominium home environment. From a very simple thing, from approaching a door, not fumbling for a key, to getting a garage door to recognize that it's you and you're allowed to come in and giving you access, to very simple, straightforward applications like that, and then we build on top of that.
Now, before we get into some of those things you've talked about as far as the keyless entry, also in terms of smart storage as far as mail and delivery, I do want to talk to you about connectivity, because I know there are people watching. I see your names in the comments right now. I see Harris, I see Dylan, I see many people who are tuning in right now. They really care about connectivity, and they may think that if you're in a building like this, a condo building, that you won't have great Wi-Fi access. But you've done something here today that even I didn't know about before.
Right.
Can you explain how you're making sure that you have fast internet for everyone?
Well, it's a very simple solution. We treat the internet in a vertical subdivision like this as a utility. So every single dwelling unit, it's the technical term, but every single home in this building has a Wi-Fi included in its maintenance fees, just like you would buy your utilities in terms of electricity or your gas, etc. We're doing the same thing. So it does a couple things. First of all, by leveraging it that way, we can get the cost of that utility down to something very manageable. So the entire building, in this case, there's 694 condominium homes that all have it at the same time. We got a very robust package in terms of the speed, in this case 500 megabits per second, and it's unlimited. And it's also about the third of a cost, of a retail cost if you went in on your own to buy it.
And I think that's not just impressive, but I would argue, and I know again for people who are watching right now, more and more people are running businesses out of their condos. More people need that connectivity. We were just laughing. I was saying I'll go over my data on my phone every single month.
Every month.
Right, because you have streaming services. Yeah, I got a call, can I get more data?
Yep.
So we know that this is just a trend that you guys are picking up on, that people need this.
So knowing that, we would design the infrastructure to support it. So there is a managed network in this building, and we've obviously attached things to it to make it smarter. But you have to decide to start with that concept, build the infrastructure to support it, and then really give you the robust connection that, frankly, everybody uses today.
Well, I'm really excited about it. So ask any questions you want about that connectivity. I do want to show you guys some of the features that are available here. So we have a question here from Dylan that is all about integrated devices. And I think this kind of plays into what we're talking about. And I do see questions coming in from Brandon and Chris. We'll get to some of those. They keep coming. But first about integrated devices. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about to start out with is actually in the suite. So what you see when you walk into the suite. And we have some footage here of this panel that you can see here on the wall, and it would be great if we could talk a little bit about what we're seeing here on this panel as far as what you can do.
Right, so this wall pad I guess is really the hub for many of the features that you can control. So we have security access control on there. So one thing we were able to do is all the cameras in the building are smart. You know, they have an IP address, so we connect to them, or certainly select ones, and it works like a neighborhood watch. So the homeowner can, not only can you see who's in the lobby, but you can see in certain access points in the common areas of the building, etc. But it also allows us to do things with the thermostat control, which was a good one in that, but not easy to accomplish because we have complicated systems to provide heating, cooling, and ventilation in condominiums. But we were able over time to have that work. So it works as a thermostat. So the traditional thermostat you just see on the wall doesn't exist in our condominium suites. We use this wall pad as an example.
We're looking at the wall pad right now, and it's interesting just to see some of the safety features like you mentioned. The idea that you're able to get in touch with people and call down the concierge, but here we're seeing as well you can get notifications on your phone as far as what's happening in the building. I think this is a cool feature as well.
Yes, so that the notification would happen either on the phone or goes back to that wall pad again. So for those of you that may not have lived in a high-rise condominium, you know, certain things people need to know about. So if we're going to need people to clear the garage because they're washing, they're washing the slabs, etc., it's a notification process. There's lots going on in this type of a neighborhood, and electronically we can keep people informed.
It's amazing. So we have a question here that was bound to come up, so we should address it. This is from Brandon as far as the safety of these features. And you know, when we have any type of smart products that are in a condo like this as far as security, I would say that these features actually help make you more secure.
I think so.
So
yes.
In terms of, what do you say to people who are concerned about this connectivity? You've thought a lot about security.
Well, so we have a managed network infrastructure, and all the security protocols are in place from that perspective, even in terms of redundancy, and in the event that we lose power, etc., we have backup systems. The door locks, the smart door locks, and the wall pads will work on their own without the network up and running. We can do that. You won't be able to use the mobile phone, but the basics in terms of your ability to lock the door and keep it secure works. We have a more sophisticated and much easier process to secure a door with alarms, etc. We've had challenge with that in the past because they're very complicated for people to understand. So kind of using the Apple principle, we came up with a design that was very, very straightforward. So this in fact enhances the security of an individual's home, and even in terms of their ability to connect with the concierge or to see what's going on at the front door. So I think we've taken it, leveraging technology to make it even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to follow up with this question, we have one from CM who says, what about privacy? But again, remember, you're not really collecting information from people.
We're not.
And in fact, as a woman who has lived in condos in the past, I would say, one of the things from a security perspective that I've always been concerned about is just, how do I know, who's in the parking garage? You have cameras everywhere, those type of things. So you are thinking about that as far as like physical security of individuals living here.
So in a building environment like this, of course we have concierge staff that are able to monitor these things, but by providing the homeowners the ability to do it also, it just enhances the overall security. So it's just a visual connection to an environment in the building.
Jim, thank you again for answering questions. They keep coming in. We have one from Sean here that I think I'll try to tackle, and you can jump into it if you'd like. This one is about integrating other smart products into your condo. How do you enable people to do that? And I will just say, because I feel I have a reasonable amount of experience as far as other smart products, and they all rely, for the most part, on the dependability of your network in the condo, on your Wi-Fi network. So because you've worked so hard on the foundation of that, that allows people to play in this space and add their own smart elements in the condo.
Correct. And we've thought about it a lot. So that you're absolutely right, Amber. You need to have robust, reliable internet connection, and I think we've been able to achieve that. At one time we thought, well, what other things can we put in that we could put in as a smart device? And frankly, it doesn't really make sense for us to do much anymore inside the home, because everything now has been developed for every kind of device you can think of, and probably less expensive than us getting involved trying to build a network or something around to play with lights, when you can go to Amazon and order something, and the next thing you know, you've got a light system that is controlled with your phone. So you're absolutely right. We need to give you the infrastructure to support, and I guess today It's your imagination allows you to go as far or as little as you want in terms of smart devices actually within the condominium home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in my house right now, I have a smart robot that vacuums my house. It sounds lazy, but it's pretty cool. And I also have a smart refrigerator. I have a smart stove, all of those different features that kind of connect together and allow me to have access to all of that information. I will also say more questions I think are coming in as far as privacy, but you talked about this already, but I think we should touch on it again. This is from Stephen. How do you deal with power outages when you're talking about some of these things? You touched on it, but maybe Stephen just tuned in and one of his friends shared this with him. So what would be your response to that?
Well, in a modern high-rise condominium building today, there are backup systems in the terms of outages. So we do not have the ability at this point to run everything in terms of a power failure, but the very important things like fire, health, safety systems, certain core lighting systems, elevators, our network system, this will all run. In fact, with our existing network, there's a battery backup that deals with milliseconds in terms of bringing power, and then the generator will come on, which is gas fired and is very, very large, and we'll continue to keep that going.
And this is all really important, I think, when we think about the future of smart condos and connectivity. I do want to show some more footage here because we have so much to show and we have a short amount of time in this half hour as far as some of the features that are available here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bluetooth entry as far as the keyless entry. I think this is a big one, especially for people, whether you're a mom, maybe you're carrying a bunch of groceries, whatever that might be. The idea that you can be hands-free throughout this process, so that enables you again to have the ease and capability of coming in and not worrying about having a bunch of different things in your hands. So you've thought a lot about this. You've talked about the power issue as well, which keeps coming up in the questions here. But this is a big one. I think we're not just talking about connectivity in the condo. We're also talking about ease of use in terms of getting in,
Correct.
Dealing with guests, all those things. So if you can expand on
convenience.
that a little bit.
So certainly this with the with access control or getting through a door. This is something that we thought was a great solution because we've heard about it so often about what can we do about not having to use a key, or I guess the most current technology today is something they call a fob, which is something you'd pull out of your pocket and touch on a proximity reader and have it unlock the door, which was great, but it's not a smart device. So what we have now with these Bluetooth apps, of course it's a proximity reader and it will allow you an easier access in terms, as long as your cell phone is on and you got the app on and you approach the door, it's much easier in terms of just having that lock disengage. Makes it that much easier. But also it's smart because we now have a record of who came into the building in terms of a digital record, and I think that's a little bit better. And it can also allow us to disable access if we had to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just seen some footage of exactly how that works. There's a couple more things that we need to get to today. I mean, I think, again, the ease of use is something I think about as a really busy mom and always carrying things.
Well, if you got groceries just simply coming in, and that's the very basic thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely an issue. Again, more questions keep coming in, which is why we like to do these live broadcasts and get questions from you. We had a question in here as far as, this is from Jillian Brown, about electric cars and recharging ports. And I know this isn't something we plan to talk about today, but it's probably worth addressing, is how do you cater to that audience?
Well, it's absolutely part of what we do here in this condominium community and every other one that we have in development. Every month goes by, there is more and more demand for what we refer to as EV parking. So we have that ability. We have a turnkey solution here at 10 York, which is a fully energized metering system and power system for the car's chargers. You just need that today in today's environment. So we have two solutions. We've got one where we're future-proofed, not knowing exactly how many people really want to take advantage of this. So we have conduit in the building that would make it easy at a later date to enable a charger and a metering system. And then we have them that are ready to go as it stands. So it certainly wasn't that prevalent 5 years ago, but today there's more and more demand.
More thinking about it. So a couple people, Matthew saying that's cool, and I think what he means there is that's cool, and he's happy to see some of these features. Also, some more technical questions. I'll let the Tridel team, who's also standing by and watching right now, get to some of those more technical questions. But this is an interesting comment just from James. Awesome by being able to use your smartphone instead of your keys, and I think many people agree with this. We've seen keyless entry with cars now over the years. years, we're getting more comfortable with that idea that you don't have to take out your keys and use them for entry. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And a few other comments coming in still about blackouts, but we kind of answered that. So afterwards you can go back and watch that. James asked the question is, do you have a fire system in place? And you kind of talked about that a bit, but people are worried obviously about safety and security, so may as well jump into that again.
Well, there's a very, very sophisticated system in modern high-rise buildings, particularly residential buildings. They do a number of things, but absolutely there's no way that these buildings would exist without state-of-the-art systems to support an area such as important as that. I don't know what detail I want to get into, but in terms of zoned alarms, obviously there's fire suppression systems. There's things that we do with the elevators, how we pressurize corridors and stairwells. It goes on and on and on, but suffice to say it's a very, very important thing.
I don't know.
Which, by the way, would independently run on its own, with or without any technology. We can't rely on just making sure that the internet works in terms of fire safety systems. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
hardwired and ready to go all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing when you're buying a new condo, something to think about too is some of these safety features. I am very concerned about safety all the time, so I love to hear things like that. And I know it may surprise you, but the safety, security, privacy things, they keep coming because my audience is super smart and we see you, we hear you, and we know you always have those questions which are worth asking. I mean, it's a big investment to buy a condo.
Even low technology, I mean, every single suite in this building has fire sprinklers. So it's all part of a big package that we use for safety.
Now, we don't expect people to stay in their homes and use smart products all the time. We know, of course, people have guests who come over. And what I also love when I came here is just the suite entry, as far as how easy it is to be able to let people come into your suite, but also to see them through the camera, and that safety feature as well. Because we know, especially if you're in a big urban place like this, you may have people coming to clean your house, or maybe you have a painter coming in, and you've made that really easy.
Very easy. The smart lock doors are programmable. You can put 4 different codes into it, so you can provide, and you can change those codes. But if you had, what's really prevalent today in downtown high-rise, it seems that if you buy a condo, you have to have a dog. So if you have a dog walker come in to get your dog, you can program a code on that smart lock, which will give them access to it. You don't have to provide a specific key.
I love
and be concerned about that.
And I'm a big dog fan. I just dressed my dog up this morning in a cute bandana, so he looked less scary to the handyman he was coming over.
See,
I think it worked. I think it was successful in that front. I don't know how we actually answer this question, but I think you can do it, and I feel confident because you've done lots of live TV.
Let's find out.
You're good for this. This is from Ben. What type of monetary premium, if any, would a buyer pay for a new unit in a tech condo like this versus a typical Tridel unit?
Well, that's a very good question. I can tell you, in this particular building, in fact, there's over 60,000 condominium units under construction in the Greater Toronto Area right now.
Wow.
And I think there's only one that has all of these features. So we took a little bit of a leap of faith in terms of trying to make this happen. It's one of the pillars of our organization, and it's something that we embrace quite a bit as innovation. So I can't say that we initially went to the market thinking that we've got to figure out a way to do this really inexpensively. We wanted to figure out a way to make it work and present value to a consumer. So initially, the costs are probably higher than we would have wanted to see it, but as we now develop them more and more, and we have an additional 9 that are in the marketplace that will be what we call Tridel Connect, so a palette of services that leverage technology, the costs are getting that much better, and they're really palatable. It's really not enough for us to say, no, we don't want to go in that direction.
But I mean, people are going to demand this. I mean, I know even just, I think about my mother, she's in her 70s, and she likes all of this smart technology.
But I can draw an analogy. Years ago, about 10 years ago, we made a decision that our buildings were going to be green, and we would leverage a number of different things, including technology, to make the buildings greener. And the end result is that, sure, initially there was an additional cost, but today in a modern condominium market, I don't think you can offer something without having it being green and being energy efficient and provide other services that way. So technology is a little bit like that. So we've done it before with green, we're doing it now with technology. I think it's a very manageable premium. and something that the marketplace is readily accepting.
I think you're right. I mean, when we show those stats off the top of this live broadcast in terms of how this city is such a tech-savvy city as far as Toronto being on the map as a center for fintech and AI and all of those different trends, I mean, people are just going to demand this. Susan has a really good comment, and I think this is important. I'm always thinking about people in terms of different ages, and Susan says, sounds like a nice place for seniors as well.
It certainly can be. And in Toronto, there are many different ways to enjoy a condominium in terms of the location and the size and the amenities. And everything I think that we're providing, it doesn't really matter what age you are. I mean, if you like phone apps and everything, that's great. If you don't, things will still work. We can still make it an environment that's more convenient because we've leveraged technology. So at any age, it'll work.
And if you have a guest coming to visit you and let's say that they're driving into the parking garage, this is probably one of my favorite features. I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever had someone to visit and you're in a condo building and you have to manage for them to get into the parking garage, it's a bit of a hassle, but you have something here that is actual license plate scanning. So we can see it in this video. So what they're doing is scanning the license plate and presumably you would have notified the concierge that they're coming. Explain how that works.
Well, that's a really simple approach. You would through your wall pad or directly to the concierge in the building, provide the license plate of the guest that is coming, and obviously the system would recognize and then provide access to that. But it's even smarter than that. It understands how many parking units are occupied, and if they're not available, they'll be told that in advance, and there'll actually be a sign outside that says that parking lot component is not available at the moment. So that is another convenience thing that we've looked at in terms of operational activity in our condominiums over the years, and we think that's a big plus.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the questions, keep coming in. James is asking a question about people with disabilities, thinking about people as far as wheelchair access. I would imagine that that's just a standard you have to build into any building today,
100%.
Right?
Yeah, so any access point into the building and even the condominium homes themselves, there's obviously certain requirements. And if somebody buys a Tridel home pre-construction, we will work with them and design the home exactly to their needs, whatever it's required in terms of accessibility.
Amazing. I can see just by the stats as far as people watching it that you guys are sharing, so thank you so much for that. I see your numbers actually growing, which is always amazing. A lot of people who are interested in this conversation. We still have lots more to go. We have a few minutes left to answer some questions. There's one other thing that I wanted to show, because I think what I love about being here and having been here over the past couple of months is I've seen how you've been able to cater to what the market is demanding. A perfect example of this is that we know more and more people are doing online shopping. And if you live in a condo, you need to be able to know that you can be in your condo and maybe you pick up your phone, you get a notification because you've had something arrive from an e-retailer. You've done some shopping and you want to be able to access that particular package. Your mail system and this setup is amazing in the mailroom. You'll do a better job than me of talking through this. I'm excited because I think this provides opportunity for people to more easily manage those deliveries.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really excited about this one too, because it's been such a challenge in the past with multiple parcel deliveries to high-rise residential buildings. So our solution years ago was that you just provided a big room and let people hunt and peck for themselves under hopefully the concierge is seeing what's going on. So this is a really neat system that again leverages technology. It is a system that when a parcel is delivered, they have these universal codes. The system understands the size and the weight of the parcel. The appropriate door opens up, you put it in, the door is closed, and a digital message goes to the homeowner that the package is there and available, and they're able to access it. It's really turned what was a challenge in the past to an amazing solution, and it's been a great success in this building. But on top of that, they can leverage other things. So this service provider can now do dry cleaning. The same system. I mean, it's just like another package, right? Except you hang it up. So there's the ability to do that. And I know that they're looking now at refrigerated units that also can work in these parcel delivery systems, so that we can actually, whoever's going to deliver the food that needs refrigeration can also be accommodated. We haven't done that here just yet. We're still looking at it, but the vast majority of the parcels that come in, we've been able to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that I see a lot of comments coming in as far as things that people want. So now that they've bought in and they want to see some of these features. I also think as far as the mail delivery, I've seen that the lockers are different sizes, and there's a couple that are quite large.
Massive.
So if you had, I don't know, if it would be dog food or
so
many larger items.
Somebody did a lot of studies and figured out the percentage of sizes that it's needed. So whether they're small, they're medium, or they're large, or they have oversized. So there's a percent of each of those components that are included in here, and they all work on that same digital platform. It's all connected and communicating with the resident.
So I have to duck back into the comments because there is, and we're just going to look at some of the footage here, but there's a comment here from David, and I realize that we've been talking for a long time, and I haven't mentioned that this is 10 York, that's the address. David is saying, which building is this? So obviously he just kind of tuned in and he's curious about that. Matthew says, this is awesome, wow. Robert says, my grandma would love that mail system. So a lot of people leaving their comments. Connie saying parcel delivery is huge, especially in buildings without a concierge, and the demand is only going to grow. Robert says grocery delivery makes a lot of sense. James piping in. Gemma, Sal saying it's awesome. It goes on and on. Again, it's 10 York. One of the things that I'm excited about, this is super low tech, but I'm going to mention it because you're mentioning that just around the corner, we can't see this right now, but there's also a nice green space. You can see the water from where we are. Can you just talk about the location?
We're really we're right downtown Toronto. We're at the foot, almost at the foot of York Street. In fact, the density in this immediate area in terms of high-rise buildings, whether they are office buildings or high-rise condos, is just incredible. But that's Toronto, and that's what works. And you're very, very accessible to the downtown core. We have parking here in this condominium, but many people opt to live here without parking. They don't really need it. If you work in the downtown core, you can basically walk just about anywhere. And on the downtimes, you are just a few meters away from the lake.
It's
and
amazing.
Everything that Queens Quay has.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically just seeing water and this new park that's being built right now. So the location is prime. David's agreeing, great location, and other people excited about this. So again, we're at 10 York, just so people know exactly where this is. If you're not in Toronto, this is in the heart of downtown Toronto, literally just a few steps from the lake. So you're in the middle of everything, and you have the best technology around as well. So people joining in, Charlie has a great question again about the safety and security. We'll get to those. I also saw a question here as far as from James talking about the prices of the unit. I'm guessing the Tridel team can jump in and answer some questions about that.
Well, in this particular condominium, we really don't have too much left. I think I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we have 694 homes. We have about 10 remaining, and those really are at the top of the building, and they're rather large. But the thing is, in Toronto, and certainly in downtown Toronto today, if you want to talk about price, you're pretty well starting at $1,000 per square foot in new high-rise construction in the city.
Well, it's amazing to see, the demand as well as, like you mentioned before, as far as Toronto and people wanting to be here in the heart of everything. I feel as though we've gone a little bit over time, and we still have more questions coming in, but I want to promise the people who are watching, and I like to do things on air and make promises so people follow through. The Tridel team will get back to some of your more specific questions. I think we're, thrilled just to see all the questions and comments coming in. A lot of people curious about what's going on. The last thing I want to say is, for people who don't know Tridel, I mean, you're an incredible company. You recently won a pretty impressive award. Can you just let people know before we go a little bit more about Tridel and your experience? You're not sort of the new kids on the block.
No, that's the easy question. Well, about 8 decades. The company was founded 80 years ago, and since the mid to late 60s, our focus really primarily has been on the high-rise environment, and particularly condominiums. So we delivered about 80,000 plus homes over that time, and have a very robust portfolio in today's marketplace. We have a little over 20 communities currently over in the GTA, about 7,400 condominium homes in development. So it's something that we know quite well, and I think it's safe to say that we're an industry leader, and leveraging technology and the things that we do here in this building are a good example of that.
And also just being a leader for doing what we're doing right now. I mean, I think this is a thing for a lot of people, it's just the transparency and the ability to be able to ask you questions, and people who are curious, they keep coming in.
Well, you're right.
So that's always
Facebook
good.
Live makes much more sense than us putting an ad in the newspaper. this is a much better way to reach out to
Absolutely.
the population.
And we have a question for Robert about the elevator system, people mentioning how close it is to the ferry dock. So this is the thing I think people forget about technology, is that this is all new for all of us, right? And so it makes sense that you have questions, you need them answered. This is a perfect format to do this. And you were such a great guest. Thank you for answering these questions. And I know you or someone on your team will make sure that we get the rest of them answered. There's lots coming in. But just before we go, I just want to remind people that if you know anyone who's looking to buy a condo and is interested in this topic, please share this video with them. I don't see a lot out there as far as what's happening with smart condos, and I've had a chance to be on the ground. I don't want to rope Jim into another Facebook Live, but I heard there's, as you mentioned, kind of a cool unit happening at the top later. So maybe we'll come back and do another one of these at some point. In the meantime, people can go to tridel.com to get more information. And any final words from you as far as...
No, I've enjoyed doing it. Thank you for the interest in what we're doing here.
Well, thank you for being so open, and thank you most importantly to all of the people who are commenting and have their questions. I'll also get in there a little bit later on and try to answer as many as I possibly can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.